Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Screech One Commentaries. My name is David Barrymon Fabulous Lark. My delightful co-host is.
Callum, the good Doctor Young.
We're going to be doing something a bit different today. This isn't going to be Keyforce Premier League. This is actually the Time Shapers SASCAP 200 Triad event, which I've been competing in. I've recently made it to the final stage after making it through the group stage. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a commentary over the games I've just played, which is my first round of that finals. I obviously know the result because I've played them, but I've managed to keep it from Callum thus far. He is in the dark completely as to whether I succeeded or failed and brought honour to Screech Bomb or brought shame. So we're going to do a fun kind of post commentary over it, with me kind of smugly going, interesting thoughts there, and Callum floundering and trying to work out what's going to happen.
Yeah, so if it seems the Baron is more perspicacious than usual, it's because he knows what's happened already, and I am guessing somewhat.
Straight in with word of the day with perspicacious. Very nice, Callum.
Thank you very much. I like that one. I'm a big fan.
Cool.
So we have KP Rockabinder, one of the Baron's decks, and I'm going to start with the Saurians because that jumped out at me first. As we have
The
Deacillus,
big lad.
the big boy.
Large and in charge. Chunky
Uh,
and funky.
and I'm a really big fan of all of the big guys in mass mutations. I think it's a really interesting concept that has worked out well without being overpowering. So you have the ability to capture all of their ember as well as a couple of other effects involving damaging creatures. And this one comes with two ancient powers.
It does. These are very
So
useful in this deck. Yeah. The general strategy is you'll play the Deacillus and you'll put a ward on it immediately. So capture all your opponent's embers, deals 5 damage to an enemy creature when you play it, and then it's got fight, reap, move 1 from Deacillus to the common supplies. So obviously, when you've got all their ember on your Deacillus, it's pretty good. Another thing I tend to do with it also is you've got double Consul Primus as well, where you can reap and move 1 from a creature to another creature. Often I'm taking ember off of that Deacillus and moving it to their creatures and then murderizing them.
So the Saurian's going to center around the Deacillus. We have the Sanctum, where you're looking at 3 angry mobs, which is interesting.
Just one other thing quickly in the Saurians as well.
Sure,
Yeah. This Sagittarius Gaze has a damage enhancement on it, which is very useful.
That's spicy.
Yeah.
I do like that. So Sanctum, we've got the triple angry mob, which is interesting. We have Master of the Grey, which is I hate it as it is aggressively unfun. But I imagine if it's in your deck, you're quite happy to have it.
I
on
love
the
it
board.
because it's aggressively unfun.
That is a little bit of our contrasting styles.
Yeah, it's one of these ones where, especially against mass mutation decks, it's incredible. You can just shut down someone completely if they've got their big kind of fertility champ wild bounty turn lined up,
Yeah.
or something with fission bloom. You can just be like, no, that doesn't work, and people often forget what it does, and will play cards and then be like, why don't I get Ember? And you'll be like, Master of Grey, and they'll be like,
Yeah,
oh.
it just breaks so many decks, is the thing. Fangs of Gizelheart, always useful. Radiant Truth for a bit of board stunning. And then a Scrivener Fabian as well.
Yeah, the Fangs of Gizelheart, less useful in this deck when you've got both Deacillus and Gladiodontus. You often have the highest power creatures, so...
Yeah, that might not be as useful if you're having problems with without those on the board. And then you're looking at the Star Alliance, which I'm going to start with the Armory Officer Nell and the Transporter Platform, complete with, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 upgrades?
I think that is 5. Yes, 5.
Assuming we count the Explorovers and the Secura Droid.
Yes, we do. They are very rarely played as creatures.
So potential for a lot of draw there.
The Secura Droid has a capture icon on as well.
Then you're looking at some other good stuff. General Order 24 is interesting, if tricky. Sometimes you want to toss it if you've got a bigger board going on.
Yeah, I very rarely end up playing this. It's generally just discarded. The times I'll play it is if I've got a couple of houses in common with the opponent. It's kind of usable then because you can set it up where it destroys itself on their turn. But it very rarely comes into play when this deck, I mean, it has 21 creatures, so
yeah, true.
You often just fucking yourself over more.
And then the double Chan as well. So I think this deck's looking to set up a big board full of creatures, try and use them, maybe hold on to the Deacillus to stop a key, or to really bring to really swing it in your particular direction by capturing all of someone's ember and then to start removing it and then knocking their creatures down with the extra damage effects.
Yeah. exactly.
And I'll be interested to see how it goes.
Okay, we'll move on to the next deck. This is a deck that we're both very familiar with. I've had it for a long time. It is U Christensen Inner Frames Silver Analyst.
This is one of the Baron's decks that is the bane of my life, as I cannot defeat it. So the cool thing about this is I like to start by looking at the shadows. The shadows is disgusting. It is like double Nerve Blast, double Ronnie, TMTP, Swindle. So you will steal so much over the course of a game, just on the face of it. So classic shadows doing shadows things. You also interestingly have the Sting, which can set you up for some pretty big Ember generation without problems. Then you come on to the Brobnar, where you have a Burn the Stockpile, something else which will punish you for being on higher than 6 Ember. And then you look at the Sanctum, where you have the Proclamation. So you have the Proclamation down on the board, things like TMTP and Burn the Stockpile to punish you quite severely for going above 6 Ember, which with the Proclamation you'll probably have to do if you want to forge a key. Because when you look at the rest of the Brobnar, it is aggressively fighty.
Is there any other kind?
Well, I mean, that's the kind you want with Brobnar, right? That's what they do best.
Yeah, so you hear a lot about the Ganganaut combo, which is Ganger Chieftain and Drummanaut. I kind of have a pseudo version of it here with Gauntlet of Command and Drummanaut and Lollop the Titanic, where a lot of the time what I'll be doing is I will punch a few things with Lollop, which won't die because it's 11 power, and can pretty much kill anything apart from some really big Saurians. And then I'll just Drummanaut to put it back in my hand, play it again with no damage on it. You also have some real nice combos with that, like the War Chest with Into the Fray. So you can do a lot of fighting with your Lollop Titanic, heal it back up, and then get like 4 Ember for all the fighting if you fought a load of small creatures. You have a Foozle, which if an enemy creature's been destroyed this turn, you gain 1. Where if you can clear their board without using the Foozle and you've got both gauntlets, you can reap that bad boy 3 times and get 6 Ember.
Yeah, so importantly, it converts the fighting into Ember generation, which is something that's really lacking in a lot of Brobnar that you see. That it has the ability to fight a lot, but not to generate the Ember you need to win the game.
Yeah.
And the board clear here in particularly is useful because you have the Proclamation. So if you can keep their creatures off the board, their keys are going to cost 8, and they're playing fully into the Burn Stockpile or the TMTP.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing with this deck is it's very good at doing what it does, but the problem is it's got a lot of holes in its game in that it has no artifact control, no speed, no actual board clear other than fighting. So it can, generally against like some Saurian decks, it can get in a bit of a pickle where you can't fight your way out of a problem.
But still, can testify you made it this far in the tournament much further than I did. And that is a testament to the strength of Christensen and your other decks.
This is very true. So final deck we'll look at is Erebel, Lycanthropic, Factory Weirdo.
Okay, so bunch of fun stuff here. I really like watching this deck in action. It's very entertaining. The first thing is I always like to start with the speed. Got a speed of 17 here. A lot of efficiency in logos. Particularly entertaining is double Igor, double Code Monkey. The amount of times I've seen the Baron play an Igor, Code Monkey and Igor to do it again next turn, possibly Code Monkey the Code Monkey to do that again next turn. And it is just brutal. You just get such a card advantage.
Yeah, the thing that you're always looking to do with this deck as well is you'll see in the Saurians you've got a 6-state interest and Axiom of Risk in 9 creatures. So often what you'll be doing here is just getting all of letting your opponent go to a lot of Ember, playing down all your dinosaurs, 6-state interest, and then Axiom of Risk to clear their board, have your whole board fine, and have a Ludo out, preferably warded behind a Trisurian Legionary, and just being like, well, your Ember's gone now. It's not coming back.
Yeah, you've got the Tribune Pompetus as well, so that Ember's going to make the creatures really big. Also, in particular highlights the double Pterodactyl, which, if you can get them unstunned, 4 power, 4 damage to a creature, and both of its neighbors will wreck a lot of boards.
Yeah.
Particularly in the new set Mass Mutations.
Also got Gargantodon and a Discombobulator just to stop them stealing in a lot of cases. And then the Star Alliance is just useful. It's a lot of useful things. So it's like Peace Accord can stop your opponent fighting when you're not ready for the fight, you haven't built up enough. Tachyon Pulse just to get away at all the annoying artifacts the opponent has.
Yeah, quarter, key cost increases, stealth mode, generally very disruptive whenever you
Yeah.
play it. So it's useful stuff all around.
So as you're hearing, this is quite a nasty deck, which is why one of the main reasons my opponent banned it. So you won't be seeing this deck in action today. The main reason we had a nice chat afterwards actually, and they said the main reason he banned this was because of the Tachyon Pulse, because as we'll see in a second, a lot of his decks have quite a few artifacts, and he just didn't want to deal with artifact control, which is very fair. And I can completely understand that. It's interesting because it's only the second time this deck has been banned this tournament in I think this is like 7 games now. Every other time, Arabelle has been the one that's been Arabelle Christensen has been the one that's been banned. Interestingly,
I think just on the face of the Steely Shadows, looking
yeah,
very scary.
that's the reason most people give is that they just see like all that steel and it's like, nope, don't want that. And on the topic of Steely Shadows, we'll go over to my opponent, St. Russell Strussel decks, and we'll look at his Steely Shadows deck first, which is Plunderer Lyra Canface. Oh
Uh,
God, was my reaction. Oh God,
five five urchins and a Fagin
yeah,
is a grim sight to be on the other side of the table.
it's a lot. It's a
That's a
lot.
lot. That's a lot of urchins and a lot of Fagins.
Yeah, and a bait and switch as
And a
well.
bait and switch, just in case you
You
didn't
know, a Nolly
have
the
the ability
Thief
to do that.
too. Just think, so much steel.
Yeah, you just look at that and you're like, oh yes, I remember Kota Shadows.
Yes.
It was occasionally just horrible and
Yeah.
unfun to play against. So that's I think the main thing about this deck. But what I find more interesting is the sheer amount of direct creature removal that you have.
Mm.
And some of the classics from Coda that I like. Triple Punch. I love Punch. It's just very entertaining.
It's a fun card. It's a fun
Three
name.
damage, get a number. You've got triple Positron Bolts. You've got Twin Bolt. You've got Spangler Box. Um, you've got the Booby Trap and the Poison Wave in the shadows.
Mm.
And just in case anything can survive that, there is a Coward's End for a full wipe. There's
Yeah.
going to be some interesting interplay between, say, the Punch and the Positron Bolts and the Coward's End. So you have to play this a little bit cleverly because you don't want to damage some things because they can't be taken out by the Coward's End.
Mm. Exactly. Yeah. This was a deck this is one of the ones I considered banning just because there is so much steel. But I thought with the decks I have, I can probably if Arabelle wasn't banned was my hope, which it hadn't been much. I was thinking, well, Arabelle shuts down this deck completely, and the steals can't really happen as much, and it can just kind of like clear balls more easily, and it's not as affected by the Coward's End because I can get damage on stuff quite easily. So I thought I'd leave this one in. The other one I left in was Collector Lorinda Lighthouse Skeptic. This was the one that I think I was least concerned about.
Which is interesting because it scares me to death. The sheer key cost increases in this are going to be a whole set of shenanigans.
They are, and they
have
were.
uh,
The thing that I was kind of not worried about though is if you look at the control score, there's not much creature control, and there's no board clears at all.
Yeah, so your sort of big creature heavy fighty decks should be able to hold up against this okay. But you're looking at double proclamation, you're looking at a grunt buggy, potentially an iron obelisk, although it's lacking in Brobnar creatures. So you rack up huge key cost increases, and then if they finally find a way to deal with this, you can sort of come in, bang, hit them with the interdimensional graft.
Yeah, my thing my thing with the key cost increase, particularly for the proclamations, is I was fairly confident that with a lot of my decks I can get one creature of each house on the board, which limits the effectiveness of proclamation, and especially with this deck where it doesn't have a proper board clear, I was like, well, it's gonna be quite hard for them to like manage me into only having like two
Yeah,
creatures of one
you
house.
think
So
you think you can hold up against this?
yeah,
And besides the key cost increases in this deck, you have a lot of good stuff that I like. You've got very fast airway logos, which as I said previously, huge fan. Double Tank Librarian, Helperbot,
yeah,
Time Traveler.
exactly. No, it's nasty. It's got some scary stuff. The speed's quite scary, but I felt with all of them, this was the one I was least concerned about. I just felt quite comfortable playing against this.
Okay.
So
What's
final
it?
one is the one that I banned, which is Shumples the Friendly, which was sadly my favorite name, and I was very sad to ban it. But there was two
Great name.
reasons.
Great name.
Two reasons I banned this. First reason, and the main reason, was the Quixel Stone. Because you may have seen, I like playing creatures. I like playing lots of creatures.
A
I
lot
like
of Cryptanic
sometimes
decks.
playing a creature, bringing the creature back, and playing it again when there's less creatures, because I've just made there be less creatures. Quixel Stone makes that really hard. Uh,
Yeah, at a base level, it is a direct and hard counter to the overall playing style of pretty much all three of these decks, right? All
yeah.
three of your decks.
The other reason, though, was also double Strange Gizmo, which a lot of my decks are quite artifact focused as well. So you've got you have Rocco with the transport platform, which I'd really rather not have destroyed by Strange Gizmo. But bigger concern was Christensen, where you've got the Gauntlets of Command, you've got the Proclamation, you've got the War Chest. These are all things that I I get really badly shut down by just being destroyed, and I was just like, this is too much of a concern.
Yeah, I mean, besides that as well, you have a lot of Ember control in this deck. You've got triple Ronnie, double Frame, Frame's Blaster, double Information Exchange.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's a scary prospect. But
Well,
the Quixel Stone alone, I think, would be enough for you to
yeah,
ban it.
the Quixel Stone. As soon as I saw that, I was like, yeah, this is getting banned. There's no way. There's no way I'm playing this. And again, I had a conversation with ST Russell afterwards, and he was saying this has been banned every game for him, bar one, I think, where the Coat of Shadows Five Urchins deck was banned. I've got to presume that guy had some decks that just didn't really need creatures as much, and kind of was more of an action focused kind of deck. But yeah, okay. So I think that was a good chat of all of the decks. We'll now move on to the games. Okay, so here we have our first game. This was me playing KP Rocco Binder against my opponent's Plunderer Lyra Canphase. Let's start the game.
So we have sort of big dinos,
We
fun
do.
Starlight stuff, versus Steely Shadows, lots of damage.
Steely Shadows, indeed lots of damage.
I would say not a great opening hand from you there.
No, I was
Kind of don't want.
not a fan, which is
Yeah.
why I tossed it away.
Yep, that makes sense.
But I get a worse
That one.
opening hand.
Well, I don't know. I think that one's fine. You don't want both halves of one half of Deus Ex and both ancient powers.
It's true.
But still, that is not great as an opening hand.
No. So, yeah, we saw the I think Ganymede Archivist. Nothing particularly to fear here. Unfortunately, couldn't start anything, but couldn't keep it in my hand. So, just wanted to hopefully try and draw into something better. Not a great second hand, to be honest, but we persevere.
Yeah, you get a little bit of stuff that you might want later on. They're going to get away with some archiving, and here comes the damaged life.
Mm-hmm.
Experimental therapy on the Ganymede Archivist, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they just want to get it out of their hand, and it's also like if it stays alive, archiving a card every turn is pretty nice.
Oh yeah. It's always a gamble, which is like, can I have this creature live versus do I want to just use it to exhaust something for a turn, so I can use it to take out something else.
Yeah, so this here, I was just like, well, I want to get these Saurian cards out of my hand. Hopefully try and draw into some more Sanctum cards, which I kind of did, but not too many, or some more Star Alliance, as the case may be. But I drew out a couple of punches from him, which I was quite happy about.
Yeah, and here we see the damage, right? Because you punch something and then punch something again to get rid of the ward.
Yeah, exactly. So
double damage Scrivener takes out the Archivist before it becomes a problem.
Exactly.
Throw out some more angry mobs. And here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Deus Ex, it's coming.
It is indeed coming. Now we see what this deck does.
Oh boy.
That was 3 urchins in a turn.
That's pretty rough. You just steal fully 3 Ember. But that Ember's not going to be with you for very long.
Yep. Here was a bit of a fuck up from me where there was some lag and I missed, and the DSLs didn't come. Fortunately, my opponent was very understanding and allowed me to just do it again to get the second half. We have a little bit of a back and forth here. I was confused.
That is very generous of them.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I would do the same because I feel in this situation, it's not like you wouldn't look through your deck and like try and pick up the Deacylus and then drop it back in your deck and carry on looking through in a real game and just be like, oh no, I just didn't find it. I guess you would.
Yeah, you kind of want to. You don't want to punish people for mistakes they wouldn't make if you wouldn't possibly make if they were playing
Yeah.
uh
So
playing
very
IRL.
very
So
graciously switched on manual mode. So what we do here easiest is just put that it's coming back in hand. Drop myself down an Ember and just play it again.
not now, damn it.
Not now.
So I think a significant question here is:
Mm-hmm.
does Strussel, St. Russell, have the Coward's End at this point?
So I'm gonna do something here which makes that not matter.
Oh yes, I that is very good. I like that. That's what I think.
Yeah. So I was also cognizant of the Coward's End. Unfortunately, it meant I had to put um an extra Ember on Deacylus, but to
I
protect
think
against the
that's
Coward's End,
fully worth it.
yeah, I was quite happy with myself when I made this play. I was like, yes, very smart.
That's a good play. And now that's what eight Ember just went. That they're
Nine
gonna
Ember.
release 9 Ember that they released are gonna struggle to get back.
Yeah, it's 8 Ember. I took 9 Ember actually in total on it now because of the
Ah,
Sagittarius Gaze.
so you can play. It's gonna be quite a few positron bolts before that thing goes down.
It is. It very much is.
And that's the thing. You're using resources that you would be using to kill other creatures
Mm,
just to wear down this Deacylus.
indeed, he is. And then this
I
was this was just a
assume.
straight up misplay from me. In that I played the Explorer before I played the Now. I realized it pretty much the second after I did it and was like,
Ah,
oh, I've goofed. And then just discard General Order 24.
yeah.
We don't share any houses here,
So
so
it's
it's
not gonna work. That's not worth it.
he can just keep playing stuff and make me kill my things potentially, and I don't. It's not worth it, really. Because at some point I'm gonna want to play a Saurian turn, at which point I'm only gonna have Saurian creatures on the board, and just have to destroy my
Yeah, and
Deacylus.
you want to keep that Deacylus alive, right? Because it's
Yeah,
got a stack full of Ember on it.
exactly. No, he did have
Man,
Skeleton.
but so there was a good play with the Sagittarius Gaze.
Yeah,
Big brains. Although the Blood of Titans is starting to get there.
and the punch as well. Yeah, he just fucking chunks
He's
through it. Like I was like sitting here like, how did this happen?
Yeah, he's got there.
So yeah, at this point, I'm just trying to get as much Ember off of Deacylus as possible here because it seems pretty clear it's going to go down at some point now between the amount of removal he has left. And now we've got the Spangler box as well. It's very much
Ooh,
like a
yeah, missed
ticking
that in
time
the
bomb.
survey of removal. That's going to take out anything.
Mm.
But I mean, so far he's gone through 2 positron bolts, a punch,
Two
and
punches.
2 punches, and a Blood of Titan. No, I think just 1 punch.
No, it's 3 punches actually. He used two on the Consul Primus early on, and then a
Oh
third.
yeah, sorry, I meant specifically on the Deacylus.
Oh, on the Deacylus, right? Yeah. See, at this point, I'm just trying to get rid of as much Ember as possible off the Deacylus. I know it's going to go away at some point, and I'm just like, right, well, I'm going
Yeah,
to take some turns.
I mean that's sensible. What's it down to now?
6 is down to.
6. So you're already there's a good 2 or 3 Ember that's come off this,
Mm.
and also you just stalled, right?
But
They were
now
pushing to forge that first key.
yeah. But now we're getting again a lot of. See, it's one of these ones where it's difficult because part of me wants to take a turn of something else, start getting cards out of my hand, but I know he's going to get rid of the Deacylus at some point. I just want to have as little Ember as possible on it when that happens.
Yeah, and also you've got to kill the Fagin,
Yeah.
which you couldn't do in hand, I think.
No, I couldn't.
So I think that was a fine
Yeah.
Saurian turn.
Yeah, I've
You're
got
down a
Deacylus.
key, but
I've got Deacylus onto 4 Ember, but he does get killed by the booby trap. Finally.
and the direct damage that this deck puts out is causing a lot of problems for you so
Yeah.
far.
Kills a Deacylus. 20 power of
20
just
power.
like.
I think I just even in a lengthy discussion of the sheer amount of direct damage, we underestimated what that looks like in practice.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just gonna play this as a creature. I considered putting it as an upgrade on Gladiodontus, but it's another one where I can see that getting taken by the Spangler box, and
Probably, yeah.
I don't want to get 2 cards nabbed by it. So
So I'm saying it's not looking great for you at the moment. You've been having problems setting up a board. They've been starting rush, but I believe they've gone through what at least 4 urchins now, more.
yes, the big problem. I think I got 1 urchin left. The big problem I had was the Daysteel was having so much Ember on it meant that I couldn't like really take other turns because I needed to just get it off, and then I just was kind of like stuck with the same cards in my hand for a long time.
Yeah, and that's kind of a problem because you don't cycle through to your answers, and you've
Exactly.
already had the Nell come and go, which is a lot of the draw power that you're looking for.
Yeah, this deck hasn't got a great speed. It mainly comes from like transport platform and Nell. That's why getting Nell early was really not ideal. You want to get it later when you've had chance to either get the transport platform down or at least draw some artifacts with it. Artifact upgrades with it, which I didn't really get a chance to do. Also, didn't
Yeah,
help that I goofed and played an upgrade before I played the Nell.
uh,
But I don't think that mattered too much in the grand scheme of things.
Tremor strong.
Yeah, it's stuff like Tremor as well, which is really, really rough. Really makes life quite hard for me.
But you're starting to get there. You're getting a board going up.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You can probably have a decent Starlight's turn here.
Indeed, I do go for a Starlight's turn.
Uh, 3 upgrades. Uh,
Yep.
Interesting. Hmm.
You'll see why.
I think. Are you going to use the Denafriel and move the? I don't know. We'll see what's going on.
You know, reap because I've got the I put the Universal Translator on. I can then fight with the
Yes.
Anaphiel, move the blast shielding onto the
That is
Tink,
good.
and then Transbattle Platform everything back and play it again.
Nice. That is an excellent play.
Unfortunately, the opponent had just forged, so I can't capture anything, which I would have really liked to do, especially with the Axiom of Grisk in hand.
Yeah, this is a problem. But you're going from like 0 to 6 in a turn, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's the big thing.
You took that Valdo with the taunt off the boards. This is a pretty solid turn, right?
This was yeah. I played the security droid as a creature here. I just kind of wanted it another thing to protect the Tink, stop it from getting killed as easily.
Yeah, and you want to be able to start reaping out, I think, as well.
Yeah,
So with the
exactly.
cowards then gone, a lot of the removal is gone. But here we go again.
Yep. At this point, I'm having to decide. I go Saurian because I'm just thinking I'm gonna have to kill a lot of my own creatures, but with like a transporter platform with a Spangler box, I can't leave Nexus alive.
Yeah, that's got to go.
Yeah,
What do you award here? It's an interesting question.
I go for the Tink. It's
Yeah,
got those upgrades on it, and
yeah, I'd be tempted by the grey, but I think that's probably correct.
yeah, I mean, I feel like stopping them getting Ember Pips isn't gonna. Maybe I should have done actually. Yeah, I think you might be right there. That might have been a stronger move.
If reshuffled around, it's looking like it's in a dangerous place for you because it's a not unreasonable chance they can stop this key
Mm,
and then also be pushing to 6.
exactly.
Uh,
They're drawing around their deck as well, so the punch is coming back. And yeah, Bumpsy's to
Bumpsy
lose an
stops the
Ember.
key.
Yeah,
It's gonna get gauntleted into something.
and the Tremor is really crushing here.
Yeah, because you now can't reap with the Shricks.
So despite saying the Fangs of the Heart wouldn't be too useful, we do manage to use it.
Purges a 5-power creature.
Yep.
Not at all bad.
And then we're just going to use the Smite just to get a reap off.
Interesting. The option to unstun the Shricks.
No, because it's not
no, that doesn't work, does
it
it?
doesn't
Yeah,
work
never mind.
anymore. I think I come a cropper of that later on in another game where I try and do that and it doesn't work. It doesn't.
Double urchin again, and we're just seeing the relentless stealing from this Code of Shadows.
Yeah.
Bait and switch first as well, so just stole 4 Ember from you in that turn.
Yeah, so I'm in a bit of a pickle here. Because everything's stunned.
Yeah, you just don't get a great turn.
Yeah.
Can play the 2 upgrades again.
Yep. And play
So
Tink
capture
again
stuff.
for a capture. The Tink's got a capture on it as well. so I can remove the stun just because it makes me feel better. Don't want to move the blast shielding. I'm just thinking about it. I do move the blast shielding. Not
I'm
100%
not
sure why I did
sure.
that. I think at this point, I think at this point I'd not given up, but
You're
I
starting to feel the pressure. You're
yeah,
feeling the
and I
game's
make a bad misplay there as well. Where I play Lay of the Land and forget how Lay of the Land works, and I could have put Secura Droid into hand.
no, yes. Then you would have had
I,
that extra
I would have
capture.
stopped the key, but I don't think it would have mattered. I think Strussel still wins. I just think I didn't have the cards in hand to stop
Yeah, and I
him.
think with the Ember control that they have and the damage that they have, they're gonna get that third key eventually,
Yeah,
unless you manage to redraw around to Deacillus, and the odds of that are
yeah,
very slim. I think.
exactly.
Brief commentary of so much steel!
Yeah.
Exclamation point! Which
So
frankly was also my assessment of the game.
yeah, so that was the second game. That was the first game rather.
Uh,
Unfortunately, a loss.
hey,
I didn't
remember
play great. I made a couple of misplays that I think could have swung the balance, but probably wouldn't have. Not my finest hour, but
remember how Code of Shadows was miserable.
yeah,
Just when in that final turn they play a bait switch and then two urchins.
yeah. I think
Just
this is like a big part of kind of why they banned Erebel as well, because Erebel just shuts down all of that. It's got so many big creatures that like the punches don't work as well, and it's got like stuff that just stops stealing working at all.
yeah. And they stick with the same deck. Is that a rules restriction or not? I can't remember.
So they don't stick with the same decks. They won with
Oh yes, of
their
course. I'm
decks. They
sorry.
have to move to their second deck. I changed to my second deck.
That was a big.
It's something I always do because I always find if I've lost a game with a deck, I find it's easier to get yourself tilted and feel not great about it, and you kind of want like a different deck. And especially in this case, I'd say Christensen's a deck that I'm better with, I'm more familiar with, and is a better deck as a whole. So I'm more likely to get a win with it. So I'm like, well, I'd need a win firstly, but it's that kind of confidence boost of playing with a deck that you feel more confident with.
And also, your opponent has just seen the deck that you've played,
Mm.
so why give them that extra bit of insight? Because by the time the third game comes around, they might have forgotten things about it.
Yeah, and you're also gonna get information on their deck as well, and make it easier to beat with your other deck too. So I think it puts you more at an advantage switching to your second deck. I think it just depends on the player, really. But yeah.
Yeah. So we go into key cost a palooza.
Yeah. So this is you Christensen in a frame silver analyst, and can you read their deck's name, Callum, if you got it handy?
Collector Lorinda, Lighthouse Skeptic.
So we'll start the game here.
3 proclamation 346E in the game.
There
Three
is
of them.
indeed. There is indeed 3. Yes. And he's indeed remarking on me switching it up.
We will indeed. See how this goes.
We will. I'm just remarking that I usually switch if I lose the first, which happens more than I'd like.
The Baron on Team Screech Bomb is on the edge, looking at potentially being knocked out of the tournament.
Not knocked out. There's a whole losers bracket. It's double elimination.
Well, losing a game, which still matters.
Yes. So I will stop thwarting you raising the stakes.
Well, we look here a game with moderate stakes.
So I'm very happy with this opening hand.
That is a very good opening hand for Christensen. We talked about almost all of those things as key pieces that you have just opened into with a hand of 7.
Yeah, so I'm keeping this 100%. And the real statement of intent, proclamation turn 1.
Yep, it's going to be one of those games.
Yeah. No, the reason I play this is because I don't tend to play Sanctum turns that much with this deck. So I was like, I don't know when else I'm going to have a chance to get this out. I wanted to just get this out turn 1. There's no benefit really to having much of the Brobnoff stuff out early.
Yeah, I think it's a perfectly respectable turn 1 turn, because you have 1 Sanctum card. You just drop that down, you get this big Brobnoff, big scary Brobnoff turn.
Indeed, large and frightening.
I'm looking at that and I'm going, oh no. But the blinding light is a crushing response.
And we have the second proclamation is down.
Oh, Oh, it's gonna be fun.
Oh Lord, it coming.
So key cost is pretty much gonna be expensive for everyone.
Key costs wild, yeah. So I
Uh,
put the burn stockpile. I then quickly go, shit, if they got a Desania, and they do not have a Desania, so I'm okay.
Always that slight panic with the archiving.
Yeah.
Just building up a board, as we said, is going to be crucial.
So yeah, and just it's one of those ones where I'm kind of like, it sucks having my Brobnar stunned, but I'm quite happy just kind of like waiting it out a bit, letting them do some stuff. I've got the burn the stockpile, so once they kind of get to a high amount of Embered, I can just kind of like nip that.
You can take a good Brobnar turn. Big logo turn happening. This is fast.
Yeah. This was.
The
I was quite happy to display their help from future self. Like it means they're not going to get it back later.
Oh, that was a lot. With the backup copy on the time travel as well. But as we see, the proclamation playing in very well.
Slight misplay here, where I should have played the Ronnie Risklocks first. However, I was just really excited to do this.
Oh, you got it! You got it! Oh, that's beautiful. I mean, I'd have been distracted by this as well.
Yeah, I saw him play the backup copy, and I was like, oh my god, this is.
You can just Merkins the time traveler.
Yeah, I mean, it was because in his archives, I knew there wasn't necessarily anything good, because the only thing in his archives is the Hexbian and whatever the Hexbian got.
Yeah, so there's a decent chance to pick the time traveler.
Yeah, and a nice bit of sportsmanship between myself and my opponent, where we're just appreciating.
I mean, that's a cool play.
Yeah,
like you've got to enjoy that.
Importantly here, though, is his proclamation is now turned off because I do have a creature from 3 houses, even though I now no longer do, because Gargantua Scrapper, the much maligned Gargantua Scrapper, doing work here.
He had to take that out, right?
Yeah, he did. That was the only way.
And already you've got a sizable board.
I do, yeah.
It's worth noting that despite being stunned, those Brobnar creatures are just sat there.
Yep.
They've done nothing to take them off the board or damage them any further.
Yeah, so I play the Mengavin here, just because it puts my key cost back down to 6 again. And we see here Dominic Cummings is less number 10 with immediate effect. A little bit of news.
Oh, the dramatic news of yesterday when this game took place.
Yep.
I was busy playing D&D when this happened, so also had to wait until later to do something.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what we see with the real strength of Christensen is that their key cost is 8, unless they have 3 creatures on the board. It's going to be very easy to stop them doing that, and you're just sitting there on a burn the stockpile.
Yep.
In your archives. So if they ever get even close to forging a key, even at 8, they're just going to get hit with the loss of 4. So it's very easy for you to keep them at key cost 8 because you've got a bunch of big fighty guys.
Yeah, so this is where I realised that Ready and Fight doesn't unstun things. But sadly. Oh, it does. It does actually. Huh.
It does when you have things to fight because it attempts to fight and then is unstunned.
Oh.
If you did it onto an empty board, you do as much as you can so you're ready. But then in order to unstun, you can't fight, so it doesn't unstun. And in order to unstun like you would with a normal creature, you would have to be off that house so you could use it.
Right. Okay, I see. Interesting. I did not know that.
And it is worth noting, though, we are now looking at an into the fray Lollop turn with the war chest.
And the burn the stockpile.
And the burn the stockpile. So potentially a huge Brobnar hit is coming. Stuns the shadows.
Which makes sense. I've got 2 stunned Brobnar creatures already. Like, you're not going to use it for 1 if he doesn't know the pain that's coming.
And I when I'm not playing against the stag, I do love to see it in action. It is very enjoyable to watch the sort of synergies that line up. Against it, it's horrible and I hate it. But when it's happening to someone else, it's very entertaining.
Yeah, so you see, Gargantua Scrapper just killed the Grey Rider, which is very fair.
Strussel's playing a good game. They're dealing with threats you have on the board, stunning, killing. They've got creatures of every house now as they want, but there's the burn the stockpile.
They're about to not have creatures of every house.
I mean, yes. Also, as well, going from 7 to 3 is such a body blow.
It is crushing. That's true.
It takes so much out of you, especially when you've been slogging and generating Zemba.
Yeah, this
And
is
here
something
we
I
go
do
with
a
the
lot with this deck.
here we go with the lollops, just crushing things.
So yeah, I've just killed 5 creatures there.
6 creatures. And he's like, well, at least Lollop has died. But oh no, there's the other one.
Yeah, but then just gain 5
Watch out,
Ember for
watch out
those
for
fights. And
5.
I keep the pound in hand. I don't really want to do damage to my own creatures, and it might come in handy. I'm in a situation where I don't need more cards, really. I'm quite happy to just kind of sit with what I have.
Yeah, and that's a huge swing
Mm.
in terms of the game.
Yeah.
Right? You got 5 Ember for yourself, you wiped their entire board
Yep.
of 6 and 7 creatures, and made them lose 4 Ember.
Yeah. So,
And they come back with a decent steal of 2 and attack Librarian, but they haven't dealt with this board. They're not even on check because of the proclamation.
yeah. And this is
And
where we just do the thing we usually do, which is just we start reaping to bring back the giants and replay them with no damage on them.
just healing them up nicely.
Yep.
And this is kind of as predicted, right? We talked about the lack of full board clear when you were assessing which decks to ban. And this is what Christensen does very well.
Yeah, slight misplay here. I probably should have brought back the other Drummernaught there and replayed it just to get the heal on both of them. This is where I tried to do the ready and fight and remove the stun.
Yes, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And you are in check despite the proclamation.
Indeed I am.
And if you look at your hand, you've got the too much to protect.
I do, yeah.
Just weighing.
Just wait. Yeah, it's one of these ones where I often just keep it. I try and archive it a lot of the time, just because there's a lot of kind of like discard a random card effect in the game or purge a random card from hand effects, where there's less fuck with your archive effects. But yeah,
Place the grunt buggy here.
I feel at this point Strussel is kind of accepted.
Perhaps in an act of desperation, given what that does to their own key cost.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I missed this message. I think I was just very focused on the game at this point.
I mean, that happens. I've done that, and he does say that you can play it out, which is what you do.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna do a reap to bring back the Lollop, play him again.
Heal, go again.
Use the gauntlet to.
Oh, it's just brutal. The same 11 power creature just going round and round and round.
The Lollop go round. And then this is another trick I quite like to do quite often, usually more than once, is reap with the Foozle for an Ember using the gauntlet command when there's nothing on the board. And yeah, understandably.
And that is Christensen in action.
Yeah,
that is what.
If you don't have board clear and don't have artifact control, games will often end like this, where it is just there's a board of Brobnar creatures who are going to kill everything you put down and then get a bunch of amber as a result.
Like you said Brobnar for like 6 consecutive turns.
Yeah, it's like the Shadows is great because it just like keeps that threat that stops anyone going too quickly, of just being like, if I make too much ember here, he might have too much to protect.
I mean, look at the shadows you have left in the game still. You have TMTP, Swindle. There was a Nerve Blast. There was an Umbra.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, some nice post-match banter here. And yeah, we'll move on to the final game now. Going all the way to game 3.
So we have Rocco Binder versus Collector Lorinda.
A nice rhyme.
Oh, yeah. So we'll see if big dinos can get you there. I think the proclamations might give Rocco a little bit more trouble than they did Christensen, because that's Christensen's whole game. You're used to playing it like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas this is going to be more of a problem. You've got some big creatures. What's funny is that I knew it had come down to this matchup. That's impressive.
Yeah, I think we were saying we kind of thought there was a high chance it would come down to these two. I had a good feeling that that Christensen could beat both of the decks that he had.
Yeah. Deacillus turn 1.
And that it's just when you see a deck with 5 urchins, you just know that there's going to be just games where you can't do anything because you're just getting stolen from constantly.
Yeah, I think once they got round Um, it's interesting. I'll ask you this: how do you feel about this opening hand Deacillus? Because it came.
I feel good about it because it's the
Uh,
thing of like I know I can get it out now and I can just play other things until either I get enough Saurian in hand to make it worthwhile, or they get enough Ember where it's going to really damage them. I think
yeah,
especially in this deck where there's no actual board clear,
yeah, and this deck
it
doesn't remotely have the creature control of the last one.
exactly
Although concerning, very big logo start here.
it is, and I was more concerned about the Titan Librarians,
Yeah,
to be
that's what I'm
honest.
saying, right? They're going to be archiving 2 cards every turn, which gives you
Yeah.
so much speed.
So I had an interesting decision here as to whether to use the angry mob or not. I chose not to, which I would have gotten another angry mob sooner, which would have been good. Um, but
Ironically, you drew the angry mob immediately.
yeah, but it's just like there's a lot of things in my deck that I just probably would have discarded. As a
Yeah,
whole, I'm
with
not a big fan of the whole like discard until you find a thing effects, like Letha Logica, stuff like that. I just think
yeah,
you
especially when
give
there's
your
only
opponent
one in
too
the
much
deck.
information about what's been discarded.
Yeah, especially when there's only one angry mob, right?
Yeah.
Left in the deck.
It's like if you see like everything go past and you see like Nell or transporter platform go past, you're like, okay, I can play more comfortably than I would have done previously. Yeah, getting a very nice opening hand, getting all of his logos out.
All the logos. He's got to
Yeah,
archive 2 cards here.
this was still another difficult decision as to whether I kind of play the Deacillus out or not. I can't remember what I did actually, so this is a surprise for
So
me
don't worry.
too. What would you
I
do,
think I go.
Callum?
I think I go Sanctum here. I think you fight the 2 Titan Librarians off the board. Uh, you can just cycle your whole deck if you want because you know that there's no more angry mobs in it.
Mm,
So you could just be like, you know what, I'm going to go again. Let's put the things I already had back in.
I consider that, but the things in my discard aren't that good. So
I mean, then there's no reason to do that.
yeah, it's like I think I've got
I
like a
mean,
Radiant Truth and a Scrivener Fabian in there. That
yeah, you're fine then.
it's not. I'm not likely to be playing that many Sanctum turns either. I'm foreseeing after this. So yeah,
Yeah,
you can
true.
see me considering here, but I do indeed
So I
go for
mean,
the Sanctum.
okay, because the Deacillus takes out 1 Titan Librarian for sure.
Uh, yeah, we'll take. It does 5 damage to
Yeah,
something, so it can take out whatever you want it to basically. But then when it fights or reaps, it also does 2 damage to every enemy creature.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's a fine Sanctum turn. It's still early in the game. You want to stop that archiving
Yeah,
because it's going to get out of hand, and they're going to do ridiculous things later, probably.
yeah. You also just want to like actually get a lot of Ember on it too. You don't want to just play it for like 1 or 2 Ember because
Yeah,
it's
it's a real waste.
yeah. I've got this on sport platform, which means that I'm also more comfortable playing it now because I'm like, well, I can potentially like bring it back if I want to and replay it later.
Ooh, that's a spicy play. I
You know,
like that.
which is a bit of a risky maneuver, but
It is, but I think with the board clear in this deck, it's okay. That
mm,
Deacillus is not going anywhere for a very long time.
exactly. That was what my thinking was too.
More logos, just for
Yeah,
some speed.
and this is the point where I'm like, right now, 5 Ember. That's a really good amount to get on Deacillus.
Okay.
And it's also
Uh,
like looking at the upgrades. It's stuff that I want to put on Deacillus too.
yeah, that's why I would have been. I was tempted by the Star Alliance there, but that makes a lot of sense.
It's just if I play the Star Alliance, they're gonna just destroy whatever I put those upgrades on, and it's just not. I don't want to put upgrades on an angry mob for the sake of it,
Yeah, true.
or a Commander Chan, which will just die. I'd rather have the big scary up.
The big boy. So you reset all of the Ember. You're
Yep.
looking at a pretty good Star Alliance turn in a second.
That's the plan.
And they've got
Check
to
out
be
the Jar
thinking,
Goggle, which I don't know is necessarily the right move, but it's just I think there's always a bit of like the fear of Jar Goggle where you're like, what does it have under
yeah,
there? It could be
I
anything.
I'm always risk averse with Jar Goggle. You don't know what it is. They've picked this deck for a reason. Maybe there's some crazy Jar Goggle nonsense plays they can do.
Yeah. And then poor health bot running into the giant dinosaur.
1 measly damage.
Yeah. Bless his cod socks.
But Logos AOA Logos is doing what it does. He's got 5 cards in the archive now.
Plays a Smith.
Plays a helper bot with the Smith.
And he's back up to 5 Ember straight away. No, 7 probably he's gonna reap.
What's cool is he put the helper bot back on the top of the deck, then drew it immediately with the time traveler.
Yeah. I didn't notice
So
that actually at the time. Yeah, that was a very nice move.
that's a very nice move. And what's interesting is that the Smith would really struggle in the Brobnar. There are not many Brobnar creatures, but there is a lot of them in logos. So it is the sort of thing you want to be bringing in with the helper bot.
Mm.
And they have a lot of Ember here, and they're going to get this key.
They
So
are.
I'd be feeling worried at this point.
I couldn't stop them from forging the key, and I just thought I'd better off just getting these Starlight stuff out. Have a nice turn. I do have the Nell and the Explorova. Unfortunately, got that turn later than I'd like because I would have liked to have been able to do that with the 2 upgrades I just played.
Yeah, because now you can't really get the DSLs back.
You can't.
But you're looking at a pretty handy turn.
Exactly.
With Starlight still with the chance.
Yeah.
Oof. Well, that's a tremor. Big cycling with Sound the Horns.
Mm-hmm.
They lost.
And discarding the Grunt Buggy.
Titan Library. This is a lot of stuff.
And discarding the Into the Fray as well, which is a card I used to great effect in the previous game.
But this deck does not have the creatures for it.
Yeah, so I play the Explorova onto the Chan here.
Yeah.
I'm going to remove stun. And then fight. Yeah, I get rid of the Titan mechanic just so I want to get rid of the big thing. Get the stun off of Deacillus. And then I'm going to do the old classic transport platform. Just so I can play this all again. And then, yep. One of my favourite things to do is put an Explorova on a Deacillus.
Yep. And you're looking at now some pretty brutal turns that can be happening.
Yeah, but it means you can fight into anything and not get any damage. So you can just swamp stuff with 20 power for no recourse.
And you've also got the turns with the transport platform where you can fight with a Chan, transport a platform, put the Explorer on the other Chan.
Yeah, big archive here. Garganta Scrapper. Unfortunately, it doesn't have 3 Ember.
Now we're presumably going to get all the Brob now. They've realised they need to fight back against this board.
Indeed. And yeah, just killing the Commander Chans off.
And the Signifier as well, ready to do it next turn again with the just hurling creatures into things.
Exactly.
How are you feeling about this point? Because I'm looking at this and I'm feeling like this game is perhaps getting away from you.
The thing is, though, I've got the Deacillus down with some really good upgrades on it, and they've got no way of getting rid of it. And especially now with the Skirmish, I'm not feeling great, obviously, because they're a key up, and that's never a good feeling. But I don't think it's too dire, especially now that I can get the Anafiel to just ward it and stop what was happened last time, which is just people chucking creatures into it.
And now you're also protected with the Signifier as well. That was imminent.
Yep, and then I do something quite nice here where I can ready and fight with a friend, which I do.
Nice.
And I'll use Deacillus, I think, on the Crocag, yeah.
Yeah, because that goes every turn.
Yep, and... Yep.
And you wiped off quite a few creatures.
Yeah, exactly. And now I'm starting to feel better having seen this hand.
Yes, because you've got the Ancient Power, you can Sagittarius Gaze 2 of your opponent's things.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And this is very much your style of Keyforge. It's about board control, board presence, fighting down your opponent's threats with large creatures, and you do it very well.
Oh, thank you.
I've tried to do it. I've played some of Lark's decks in various team events, and I am much worse at it. But yeah, you're looking at a good Saurian turn coming up.
I am, yeah. I'm pretty comfortable.
Free markets is an upsetting burst for you.
It is, but with the cards I've got in hand, with the Shrix, he's not going to go on to check, unless he has more Ember. And I'm still feeling okay. It's not ideal, but we're not in a terrible situation. Not thrilled about that one.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
But it's, again, I've played most of my upgrades and they're on Deacillus, which I don't want to return anytime soon. So it's not as useful as it could be.
Yeah, it's understanding from Strossel. You don't want to let that live any longer than you can afford to, really.
No. And
And
like,
they're playing a decent game. They've
oh
had
yeah.
very fast logo start that was difficult to deal with.
So
A
I
lot
think
of quick
this
generation.
move might have been not have been the best move for Strussel, because fighting the angry mob puts his Groggins onto 6 damage, which means I no longer have to fight it. I can clear his board just with a Deacillus here.
Yeah, but you go to check on 7, which is what I think they were looking to do. I'd have gone for that. I'd have cared less about the Groggins,
Fair.
and I would have just go to 7 where you think you can afford the key, especially when you're um, a key up in the way that you are.
Yeah, so this was an interesting thing that happened here, where I completely missed that he had interdimensional graft. But fortunately, because of his proclamation, I was forging for 8 rather than 6. So it didn't give him as much as he would have gotten
But
normally.
still, that's pretty bad.
This was a moment I was like, oh dear, I've goofed.
And we talked about that at the beginning, that the ability to set up these big key costs and then graft.
Yeah, I did feel
It's
like I'd
huge.
goofed here. That wasn't a great feeling, but I still felt very much in it, to be honest. I was forging the key, and I'd got a really good board set up of really good, difficult to remove things that were going to really start to like grind
Yeah,
Strussel down.
and with the Saurians here, you're gonna get to check again, probably. Well, maybe not at 8, but you're gonna get there.
Hmm.
What's concerning is that they're at 6
They are,
after the
but
graft, and
I've got a load of stuff that just knocks them off of check, and I'm starting to put more stuff that knocks them off of check down. See, I go for a capture and I put it on the Primus because I think it's just really useful being able to move Ember onto their creatures right now.
yeah, fair.
And then I can just get that Reap because of the Universal Translator. That's why I put it on Deacillus, because I know I'm going to be using it a lot, and I know it's not going to die anytime soon. So just I can keep getting an extra Ember off of another thing.
Yeah, and you've got double Primus, Shrix, Deacillus, but you are trying to claw back into the game after the graft. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. Like, I'm not in a good situation at all, but I feel like I'm starting to stabilize and starting to pull it back at this point, is how I'm feeling.
Yeah, they're going to need something to try and pull out here.
Second
And that might be
proclamation.
the sort of thing that will do it. Because that will just slow you down so much.
It does, definitely. Yeah, I wasn't thrilled to see that. But it's again, though, they need to keep having ways to get rid of my Starlight stuff, because I'm definitely going to have like Sanctum and Saurian on the board for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
So I can definitely get myself in a situation where I can just, you know, forge for a regular amount. It's not too bad.
How are you in terms of stopping this key?
Um, we shall see.
I mean, you can transport a platform some upgrades back, which is the way you would do it.
Yeah, and you've got, as you can, if you can see, Security Droid has a capture icon.
Yeah, so you capture, go again.
Yep.
But still, it's very on the edge.
Oh yeah. And then we also get the Tink, which is super useful. I hear Tink like maligned a lot, and I don't agree with it at all. I think Tink's actually a really useful card. You can do a lot of work with it.
I think this deck is a very good Tink in a way that others are not.
Yeah, I think maybe that's
Because
why you're right.
You have it in a deck with protections, and you have it in a deck with big other creatures, right?
So this was a really cool thing. Because I got a ward on it from the Ancient Power, it meant I could take all the upgrades off of Deacillus without returning it to my hand, and just be able to replay all of those again.
Yeah, spreading that captured Ember around, getting ready for an Axiom of Grist.
Which I do have in hand as well.
Yep, that's why I'm calling out your good, intelligent plays.
So yeah, and as you can see here, we're now in a situation where I've got all 3 houses on the board. It's going to be very difficult for him to get rid of said houses. Yeah, and the proclamations are just sitting there not doing much, really.
I worry about the graft, is what I worry about, because they've gone round again.
I don't know if they have, actually.
When did this happen? When did it was late in the thing, so I'm not sure whether they have it or not.
I think I definitely checked the discard for it at some point. I think they might have already played the graft at this point.
They've definitely played it, but it's whether it went round again.
Yeah, they have the cutthroat research.
Cutthroat research is bad.
It is, but I'm still on check. I'm still on course to forge a key at this point, as far as I remember. So
You are, but you've got to get them off. This is the pressure you have when they're pushing for the third key. All of your turns are determined by their pace, basically. They're going to check every turn. You have to get them off check every turn.
Mhm. I'm a man who enjoys getting people off check, though.
You are. I can't see if you can do it here, though, which is the thing. Because you sort of spread the
Yeah.
upgrades around into the form of creatures.
Seeing them get to 7 was concerning, definitely. But I have my ways.
Okay. I'll trust your knowing what has happened.
Yeah, you'll see me starting to check things and where certain upgrades are and formulating a plan here. But I do have a plan. I'm not out of it yet.
Not out of it yet, but it's a tricky situation.
Oh, it's bad. Like, it's very bad.
Especially if you have to go Star Alliance and play no cards.
But Strussel also, you know,
Strussel's feeling the pressure.
Considering, yeah. Oh, it's on a knife edge, this game, definitely.
I do empathize. I've played so many games against your decks that have looked like this, where it's like I'm pushing for key 3 with like no creatures left on the board, and I'm just desperately trying to generate Ember apart from this before you catch up with me by reaping 6 times. Say,
but this is what I always say to kind of the argument that you should always reap rather than fight, or like it's like a race, not a marathon. Is that I always say you have time to generate Ember later. Yeah, you see the graft has been played.
Okay. I know it was played, I just was unsure where it was in the reshuffle.
Yeah. You have time to generate Ember later. Once you've got a board set up and you can reap for 5 in a turn, you're probably gonna get keys. And what I like to do is set up boards that can knock people off check and can stop other people forging.
Has gone Star Alliance.
I have.
Plan is being formed. You can action with the Shrix. Or the Seeker of Truth, even.
Yep.
Interesting. What's the plan here? I don't yet see it.
You'll see it in a second.
Fights with the Deacillus.
Yep.
Gets rid of the Barrister.
I need
the Universal Translator.
I need us to do it this way as well because I need to be able to read.
You had to go. Oh, that is good. That is impressive. That is Star Alliance efficiency in action, right? You used 3 different houses in that maneuver.
Yep.
The Seeker of Truth coming across big there is
yeah, not like it's like the Seeker of Truth and their Teleporter Chief Tink were the 2 creatures there that came in big. It's not a phrase you often hear. This was a difficult decision. I decided to fight it because I was thinking like, well, I don't know why the blast shielding trigger came up again there. That was really weird. But I was like, I'm not getting to check either way. And I'd rather have them have less creatures.
That's potentially huge here though, because you need to start putting pressure back on them. Because now you played no cards. They know you played no cards. And are reliant on what's on the board.
It's true. I'm still in the same situation as before where I can do that again.
Yeah, it's going to be trickier with a bit of damage on the Seeker of the Truth. Can't see how
I don't. The only reason I fought with the Seeker of Truth is because I needed to. I wanted to keep the Deacillus behind a taunt, so I could move the Tink, and I want to get the Tink behind that taunt.
You have to take out the Joya as well.
Yeah, I could have just done it with the Deacillus, and I didn't need to use the Secret Truth, but I just figured. I've already overcomplicated it, to be honest. I didn't need to use Secret Truth thinking about it.
Strussel is thinking very carefully now.
But
they kind of know that they need to. I would probably think you need to. You've been in a situation where it's like, I need to win this turn.
Yeah, he was. I think this is what we were talking about after the game. Was we both identified that this was the turn that we knew it was going to be won or lost on.
Because if you can stop them here, you can almost certainly rack up a large Ember count, right?
Yeah.
And their deck has some control, but it's mostly based on key costs, right?
It's key costs, or it's like stuff like the International Graft, which is no longer a factor.
Yeah.
Because, well, firstly, it's in the discard, but secondly,
no help.
Yeah. My heart was pounding at this point. Definitely.
This is pretty tense, because obviously this is for the game and a place in the top 8. No, it's not. For a place whatever.
It
For
is in the
winning
top
this
8. You are
game.
correct. It is in the top 8.
Oh, okay, cool. Place in the top 8.
For all the marbles.
And this is for the Ashes.
Goes Brognar.
Mid 2000s sketch humor references there.
Discuss the grunt buggy. Understand. Oh no, yeah. This we had a small kerfuffle, where you'll see in a second he meant to play the Garganta Scrapper first.
Because the alpha.
Yep, it's fair. Garganta Scrapper is awful. So...
Why does it have alpha?
No one knows. It's such a meta effect for having alpha. But
right,
yeah, and he hits the tink, which is quite big.
Very generous of you here, because you could have made that mistake in real life.
You could have done, but I'm just like, I think especially as he was so nice about the Deacillus goof earlier.
Yeah, fair. There's a level of trust.
And it's again, I don't, even if you did make that mistake, if I was in a real thing, you said, oh, I meant to play the Garganta Scrapper first, I would have been like, oh yeah, sure. All he's done is discarded a thing. It's not like it's hard to.
Yeah, it's not really made a difference.
But
removes the tink, so it takes a lot of. But stops at 6.
Yeah.
So you can easily get him off check at this point.
Yeah, I do indeed.
And rack up a vast amount of Ember, presumably.
Yeah, so.
It's gonna move a lot of things. And here, like, the deck's doing what it does. We talked about the ability to set up a scary Saurian board with the Ancient Powers and the Primuses, moving things off Deacillus. Stealing with the Shrix. Although the crucial turning point here, I think, perhaps came when you reached the point where you had creatures on the board all the time. So when you were no longer having the problems with the with the proclamations.
Exactly. Yeah.
The Axiom there is a choice.
Yeah, I may have. That was unnecessary.
I don't really think that was necessary at all.
Yeah.
One Gargantua Scrapper.
But I was like,
I thought you were going to do it to ward something with Ember on, but you didn't even do that.
Yeah, no, I don't know why I did that, to be honest. When I could have just fought it as well. That was definitely a boo move.
But I think at that point, you know that you've won this game.
Yeah. And then there's the interdimensional graft as well. But yeah,
well played. That was tense.
Yeah, as you can see, my reaction of phew.
Yeah, I thought that game was going to get fully away from you.
Yeah, it did feel like that at points, but I was pretty confident I could pull it back. I know this deck. I've not played this deck that much. It was a deck that I knew the 2 that I wanted for this, and I was just looking for something that was kind of had low enough SAS, but I still wanted to play. So welcome.
But that's been pulling its weight, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. It's been doing really well for me. It started out at 62 SAS. It's now at 63. I think all my decks since the start of the tournament have gone up in SAS. So, fortunately, I left some root space. But yeah, it's a deck that just kind of has a load of answers and just a load of really good stuff. I'm never that entirely sure why it's such low SAS, because it's got a lot of really useful cards in.
A lot of underrated cards, I think.
Yeah.
Like the Angry Mobs, no one's really a big fan of.
Yeah.
Ancient Power and Mass Mutations, I think, is not as strongly rated with the synergy. But yeah, if you look, it's got decent Ember control, decent Ember generation, decent creature control.
The speed is deceptively low.
Yeah, I mean, we saw in that game it's capable of being very efficient in terms of creature usage, if not in draw.
Yeah, and you can sometimes just get turns with the Nell, where you're just drawing like 8-9 cards in a turn, sometimes as well.
Yeah, but the ability to whack all those upgrades on Deacillus.
Yeah, that tends to be the thing. It's like very Voltron, Deacillus kind of thing, where you make big scary robot with armor.
Yeah, the turn when you use all 3 houses to get them off from 7 was impressive. It was like an elaborate contraption.
Yeah, looking back at it now, I realize I probably didn't need to use the Seeker of Truth, and I could have just done it with Deacillus and Citizen Tricks. So I don't know why I did that. You'll see a few times here. I definitely misplayed.
You were taking stuff off the board, which is you also had to do, right? Because if they just reached for 5, but you were also in trouble.
When I thought it was going to do 2 damage to everything anyway, so that health bot would have died either way.
Yeah.
I just,
It doesn't matter at this point. Pulled it out the
I
bag.
if I wanted to make it sound like I was being smart, I guess I wanted to keep Deosilus next to the better taunt, which was the champion Anaphiel rather than the Secura droid. I think
Yeah,
maybe
that's
that was
fair.
my thinking, but I don't know. I think I maybe was just overcomplicating things unnecessarily. But yeah, I was very
Well,
happy with that turn. I did take like the entire time he was playing his turn, I was like trying to puzzle it out and be like, and I was like, if he gets one more ember, I think I'm screwed. But I think if he stays at 7, I can stay in this, and I'm actually in a really good position at that point.
yeah. And I will just say at this point, we spent a lot of time talking about your plays because obviously we can see your hands and you know the decks, you know what you did. But I'd say it's a great set of games played from SC Russell there.
Oh yeah, we like all 3 games. I feel like were played really well. On apart from the first game by me, I really goofed, but like all 3 games were like a blast. It's some of the like really. I think a lot of the games I played in this tournament have been like really fun Keyforge, and have like just been really fun games. I I think as much as I really like high level Keyforge or like 80 SAS decks and everyone playing ludicrously powerful stuff, like I kind of prefer SAS cap stuff just because I think you get more interesting games because it's more balanced.
Yeah, and it rewards, I think, knowing the deck more because you have to find a deck that does high quality things despite the low SAS. And they tend to be a bit more unusual in terms of what they look like.
Yeah,
And you see a greater variety of decks as well, which is always interesting. Like
exactly.
both decks that ST Russell played today were really interesting in how they functioned, the cool things they did,
Mm.
and I hadn't seen like that decks like that before so much,
Yeah, like
and it just made
backup
for a
copy with helper bots and time travelers.
gorgeous.
Yeah, I did feel. I say I feel a little bad. No, I felt really good about the Merkins play on the time traveler, but
It's, I mean, you've got like he clearly respected that, right? That's a cool move, and was like,
mm,
yeah, you know what? Well done, well
yeah.
played. That's how I
But it's
react to
it's a
that.
cool deck that can do that and just be like, I'm gonna play time traveler like 3 times this game if I can get it before I get my help and future self. Enjoy, and it's yeah. But no,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'll be moving on to the next round. Very excited, and yeah, hope you enjoyed listening to the commentary of these 3 games. The last one definitely took a few
Oof.
months off my
Yeah,
life,
I
but
mean, yeah, I feel like I'm stressed as well, and I just watched you play it whilst rooting for you.
I don't
You
know.
played this damn game.
Yeah, I really enjoy games like that though. I'm a big fan of having a board, having lots of creatures that you can do stuff with. I like creatures with like fight effects and reap effects, and the it's not just like a board of creatures that you're just going to fight or reap with. It's creatures that you'll fight with and then do something else with another creature. Being able to do stuff like the turn where I used the Tink and then moved the blast shielding off of the Anafiel onto the Tink and then replayed it. I love
Oh,
doing stuff like that. And I think you, with board focused decks, you get a lot more kind of scope to do things like that.
yeah, and it was cool. Uh,
Hmm. But yeah, so thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed something a bit different today. We will be doing more Keyforge Premier League commentaries soon. I believe we're still in the process of choosing what our next game will be, so watch this space. I've been David Baron Pampidus Lark,
I've been Callum, the good Doctor Young.
and we hope to see you again next time. Good day.
We are Team Screech Bomb commentaries.